Okay, I guess everybody should know by this point in time what's going on with YouTube. For anybody that doesn't, YouTube has decided to demonetize aggressively videos that talk about anything that they consider to be not advertiser friendly. They can make the decision entirely on their own as to whether or not a video is advertiser friendly or not. Now this smacks very much of SOPA, where the internet could basically just be illegal and the government could decide what is and is not without any kind of oversight. Well, the same thing is happening here, but what's funny is that Google had fought against SOPA, and now with YouTube, they're doing something very similar. So, no, this is really bad. But the full definition, or explanation, of what's going on is that YouTube now can decide what videos can be monetized and which videos cannot. And they do this using, at the moment, a bot that decides, okay, so this video has X amount of these tag words. We don't want these tag words to be monetized, so we're not going to let this one be monetized. Or it already has this many tag words in it, so you can't monetize it just at all from the get-go. Now, this doesn't sound too bad because the point, obviously it can sound like it's bad. It can sound like this is definitely going in a bad direction. But it entirely depends upon how they go about implementing it. The problem is they've implemented it terribly. And the way that this works is, we're going to look at the example of Boogie2988. About half of his videos have been demonetized. For those of you who know who Boogie2988 is, he talks about things in such a way as to try to help other people who've had problems with them. And he tries to be very non-biased, he tries to be very objective. He's talked about his own life and things that he's gone through, and those videos have been demonetized. He talks about suicide and suicide prevention, and those videos have been demonetized. He talks about a lot of different things, not necessarily controversial things, and about half of his videos have been demonetized. So, obviously, to start with, YouTube, and thus Google, has implemented this completely inappropriately. Now, it's up to them as to whether or not they want to do that, but we'll get into that. Boogie2988 is not the only person. There are many other YouTubers out there who have had demonetization issues. For instance, H3H3, Philip DeFranco, anybody who has a YouTube channel that they spend all of their time talking about, oh, you know, here's this controversial subject, let's discuss both sides of the issue, or even just one side of the issue, because they want to put out there their side of the issue. The problem with this is, while it didn't seem like censorship before, these people can no longer talk about these things, and these things are what designed and made their channel what they are. The problem with that is, that's how they make money. And if you tell them, oh, well, you know, we're not going to let you monetize because your video, you know, it's too controversial, or it's about a controversial thing, and advertisers don't want that, which, as we know from going on television, that advertisers don't care. They'll advertise on anything. It has nothing to do with that. I'll also get to a system that could fix this entirely at the very end. Anyway, the problem is, we now have all these YouTubers who their job is, or has been so far, and they make money off of talking about controversial issues, trying to come to an understanding with people, or trying to get understanding out there for their side of the issue. Now, of course, not everybody is like that, but I'm only talking right now about those YouTubers. If YouTube wants to do something to try to police the rest of the YouTubers who do all of their stuff in such a way as to be hate speech and hate-filled, that's on YouTube. But they shouldn't do it in such a way that they're taking away from every YouTuber's ability to make videos. Now, as I was trying to say before, and then I stopped myself, it's fine if Google wants to do this. If they want to take YouTube and make it this great big place of censorship, that's fine. That's their prerogative. They are a company. YouTube is their product. People use it. They filled out EULAs. That's totally acceptable. It's a free country, and this is what freedom of choice looks like. But they must also deal with the consequences. I'm going to give you guys the example of the cake makers who denied making a cake for a gay couple who wanted to get married. Now, this was a big topic a year or two ago, but what happened was, to refresh everybody's memory real quick, a company was making cakes for all kinds of different occasions, not just weddings, but all kinds of different things. And a gay couple came in and said that they wanted a cake made for their wedding. The people who owned the company said, we don't want to make a cake for that kind of thing because we don't believe in homosexuality. So those cake makers were able to tell somebody, no, we don't want to make that for you. The problem is that a bunch of people got upset about it. But those bunch of people that got upset about it were getting upset for the wrong reason. The cake makers should totally be allowed, it should be within their freedom, should be within their rights to deny somebody service. Now, if they do decide to deny somebody service, even if it's racism or whatever reason that they gave to do that. Now, of course, if it goes against the Constitution or against any of the laws of the United States, especially considering all of the laws that have passed having to do with discrimination against age, race, sex, all those various different things. If a company goes against that, yes, the government can step in. Yes, those people can sue them. But my thought is, allow people to do things if they so feel like it. And that's what the free market is for, to fill in where other people fail or fail to perform. For instance, those cake makers, yes, they didn't make cakes for the gay people, but another cake maker could easily have stepped in and said, we'll make a cake for you, and we'll make a cake for all gay couples that want cakes. We don't have a problem with that. So then the American public, the free market, can decide, we don't want cake makers who won't make cakes for everyone. So we're boycotting this cake maker because they are doing that. And that's what happened. A lot more happened than just that, but that's the gist of it. Now, in the same way, Google can say, we don't want to monetize videos of people who talk about things that we don't approve of. And that's totally up to them. While I don't agree with it, and while many other people don't agree with it, and technically it goes against First Amendment rights, this is a company that owns a product, and they can decide whether or not people can say or do things with that product. So it's not against First Amendment rights. So one of the problems with deciding censorship is the way that they want to go is that you're going to get a company like this who gets really big and they decide we're going to go with censorship, or I'm looking at you here, Twitter, but we're going to go with censorship, and that winds up alienating a lot and sometimes most of their users. Companies can make stands that are bad stands, things that they should not have done. And in this case, that is what Google is doing through YouTube. So, what I'm suggesting is that we boycott YouTube. And I realize that I'm putting this video up on YouTube. I'm not going to monetize it. I don't care. This is not about monetization. This is about letting a company know that what they're doing is not what the public wants. And so, if we make sure that our voice is heard by avoiding using their product, then they're going to realize that they don't have as many people watching and using their product. And because they don't have that, they're going to suffer. They're going to realize, or hopefully, that's what the boycott is about, that they're going to realize that they need to change the way that they've done things. Now, my solution to allow for advertisers who, maybe some advertisers do get upset because their advertisements wind up on videos that they don't want to be advertising on. Maybe you should make it so that advertisers can check boxes. You know, there's everything except for what I check. And they say, we don't want to advertise for anything with nudity. We don't want to advertise on anything that has hate speech. We don't want to advertise it on anything that has this or that controversial topic. You know, abortion, safe spaces, anything from old controversial topics to new controversial topics. It really doesn't matter. But they just put in everything that they can because it's Google and they've been gathering up all this information for a really long time. It shouldn't be hard for them to come up with a bunch of different checkboxes that people can use. So the company would decide, these are the things that I don't want to advertise on. And each individual company would decide this. And then maybe even allow YouTubers to do the same thing. They say, well, I don't want these types of advertisements with my video because they go against what my video is even about. That's totally fine. I would actually prefer to have both advertisers and content creators being able to decide what their product gets to get placed with, or what their content gets to get placed with. Then, if you have too much going on in your video, say you have a video with hate speech in it, or and that's saying that they even allow a video with hate speech to stay, but say you have a video with nudity or what have you in it, you have made the choice to have nudity, and so you have made the choice that you're probably not going to get any of the advertisers to be interested in you. Same thing can be said. You have made a choice to talk about suicide, so companies that don't want to advertise on a video with a message about suicide won't be doing that, and you will have less chance of having advertisements on your video. So the power behind that falls upon you as the content creator. The power behind that falls upon the advertiser as the advertiser. This would make it so that you wouldn't have a conflict, or you would have much less of a conflict. But that's just one solution. There are others, and it may not even be the best solution, but honestly, I think that it's much better than what they're doing now. So I hope I've made my point, and while I don't normally make videos like this, in fact, while I haven't made a video in over 4 years, 5 years now? I don't know. This is just one of the things that I wanted to talk about because right now, this is ridiculous. This is something that we do not need. And if Google continues to go in this direction, it's quite possible that people are going to leave and go find another website or another medium, software medium, to push forward with what they want to do. You know, to have the advertisements on another website, on something else that would replace YouTube. Now, as I said before, Twitter is doing the same kind of thing. In fact, Twitter is doing it much more aggressively, to the point where they're just banning accounts and shadow unsubscribing people from, or unfollowing people from other people. I've also seen shadow unsubscribes on YouTube, but I haven't had any experience with that myself, so I don't know for sure if that's actually going on. But my point is, if this kind of stuff continues, there will be websites that replace them. Look at MySpace. MySpace changed the way that they did things, and they continued to change the way that they did things to fit what they wanted to have MySpace be. Totally fine, it's up to them. But everybody left. We all went to Facebook. Something will replace it. If Facebook continues to go down the path that they're going down, where they might start completely removing things that they consider to be controversial from people's pages, or they might have people unfollow each other, I don't know. I don't know what they're planning. I've heard all kinds of different things, and that worries me. But if Facebook continues down that line, another website will replace Facebook, the same way that Facebook replaced MySpace. Another website will replace Twitter in the same way, or in the same fashion. And the same thing can happen for YouTube. I mean, there's already a couple of different things out there, but I'm sure that somebody will sit down and say, okay, here's what YouTube did. Let's do exactly what YouTube did. Change a couple of things that we think that it would be better with, or that the community tells us would be better, and we'll put up a website like that. Sorry, YouTube, you do not corner the market, because that would be a monopoly, and that goes against the Constitution. So get ready. Anyway, those are my points. That's kind of the whole thing here. I want to start this thing of boycotting YouTube to let YouTube know, to let Google know. And I hope that this catches on. And I hope that this pushes forth the idea to the people who run the company that what they're doing is not appreciated and what they're doing is not okay. All right. Take it easy, everyone.